Order all your half-shell favorites for takeout or delivery. Visit www.halfshelloysterhouse.com to browse the familiar menu and place your delivery or takeout order in minutes. Same menu prices, just a $5 flat delivery fee every time at Half Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Laurel Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi, 39232, or you can give us a call at 769-257-7586. And oh yeah, tell them Sonya sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonya, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome back Sportswriter for the New Orleans Advocate, Mr. Rod Walker. Hey Rod, how are you?
Hey Sonya, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's been a month of Sundays since I've seen you on here.
Yeah, I haven't been invited on in a while, so.
Lies. Oh, y'all don't make me show. I got receipts. You've been putting me down. But, you know, we got to do our Legends of the Sip is coming back soon. So we got to start getting prepared for that. We got to get with Brian, Wanky Adams. Did he text us yesterday or today?
I think it was
yesterday.
Yesterday.
No, it was today. It was today. Because you didn't respond. I did.
I don't even know what he said. I do remember seeing the message, but I got to, yeah.
You got to go back. It was hilarious. So, yeah, but so how was your Christmas? How was your holiday?
That was pretty good. You know, I was working as usual, and this is the time of the season when the Saints and the Pelicans overlap, and Tulane was in the Cotton Bowl, so I went to Dallas for the Cotton Bowl to watch Tulane and Southern Cal. I had to work that, so there was a lot going on during the holidays, as always.
And you celebrated a birthday.
Celebrated a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Turned 25, and
I know, and I'm 26.
26, that's right.
No, we're the same age. So we're both 25. I'm just a few months earlier. Okay. Right. I love it. We're a quarter of a century. I love it.
Yep.
Awesome.
And I have a daughter that's older than I am. So.
And how old is she now? How old is she?
She's 28 and I'm 25.
Oh, wow. You was working, brother. 3 years old? That's something. No, she's older than you.
Yeah, -3 years old.
Yeah, -3. Benjamin Button. So, but yeah, so Rod, I brought you on on today so we can talk about some of the biggest sports stories in 2022. It was a lot going on last year, but we just gonna hit a few because it was just like, we had somebody in prison in another country. We had somebody to retire for 8 weeks. It was just a lot going on. So we're gonna get into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so as I mentioned, retired, we had several sports stars in their own right and in their own individual sport to retire last year. We had Sue Bird, who retired with 20 years from the WNBA, 24 years for Roger Federer. Did I say that right? I never could get his name right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's close enough. And he retired from men's tennis. We had the biggest 3 shockers for me was 42 seasons for Coach K with Duke. I can never pronounce his name. 26 years for Serena Williams from women's tennis, and 22 seasons, most for any NFL quarterback, Tom Brady, from the game of football, but he did it for 8 weeks. So what are your thoughts on these retirements? And do you think they still have something in the tank? Any of them?
Yeah, I think they all had something in the tank, and obviously Tom Brady did. I mean, he got them into the playoffs, so that they finished with the losing record. They're 8-9, but you know they're in the playoffs, and they'll play the Cowboys in the playoffs. So you know, he had something in the tank. You know, you talk about Coach K, and that's one that kind of special to me, just because I got a chance to be there for his final game. You know, the Final Four. The Final Four was in New Orleans, and
oh, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, they played North Carolina on that Saturday night in the semifinals. Yeah. And I mean, the city of New Orleans has had some really good Final Fours. I mean, Michael Jordan hit his shot here, Keith Smart shot, Chris Webber's timeout, and you add this one to that list. I mean, you had 4 of the best programs in college basketball all here with Duke and North Carolina, Kansas and Villanova playing. And so, yeah, just being there that night to see Coach K walk off the court for a final time, losing to their biggest rival, arguably the best rivalry in all of sports when you talk about Duke and North Carolina. And I just remember that post-game press conference and Coach K, like all his family, I had never seen that many people in a post-game press conference, but his family, they all, I don't know how many family members he had now, but there was a lot of them. And just knowing what he meant to college basketball and him playing his final game, him coaching his final game here in New Orleans was, pretty big. And something one of those moments that you'll always just remember and just seeing him walk off the court. And then I guess you mentioned Serena, obviously, what she means to just women sports period. I mean, she's arguably the greatest female athlete of all time, and you really don't even have to put female on that. She's arguably one of the greatest athletes period of all time. So yeah, I mean, we lost some great athletes and coaches who stepped away from the game. And I think the older we get, you see these people, they start
That's weird. I mean,
yeah, it is
we
weird.
were kids when Coach K had first started. I mean,
Right.
It's so odd when I saw it. And I get a little emotional sometimes. I mean, I'm a North Carolina Tar Heels fan, so I was happy for the win, but I was sad at the same time because it's like, dang, this is his last game, like for real, for real. And I've been watching this man since I was a little girl coach and do it very well. And, like you said, it was just, even with Serena, she was a little girl when she started. Now she's in her 40s, and to see her so emotional, because it's just like, that's a lot. These people, this is all they've been doing all their life. And to walk away, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And as Tom Brady showed us, I mean, it's hard for these athletes to walk away and coaches. I mean, they, like you just said, they're around the sport for so long, and it's like all they know pretty much. So now they got to sort of find this
Like what
other
to do.
life, right? What am I going to do? And obviously Tom Brady couldn't quite figure that out, so he decided to come back and do what what he's accustomed to doing.
I don't know if I said this to you. It may have been Jamie and said, but it was them, because we do the NFL recap, and we did it last year. Do you think, because I said it, I was like, if he goes back, I said, I got a feeling he's going to do a Michael Jordan. If he goes back, I said, his wife may not be happy about it. And apparently she was not. It may have been some stuff going on, but that probably was just like the tip of the iceberg for her. And it was like, I'm done, so what are your thoughts on that? Do you think his coming back to the game, his love for the game may have had a demise in a part of his marriage?
I mean, it definitely. I mean, I don't know enough about their marriage, obviously, but I do.
Right.
I do think that. I mean, it takes a toll on relationships, man, because these athletes and coaches, they're away a lot.
All the time.
They're out recruiting. They're always out training. They got games on the road. I mean, I can see it being a lot for somebody. And I mean, I can't remember how long they've been married, but yeah, I mean, you have to think that that probably did take its toll on the relationship, and it's just a lot. I mean, I think marriages, having been married before, it can be difficult anyway. So now you're just throwing an extra layer in there, an extra element of difficulty by being away so long. So it definitely could have had its
being away and having the ego of being the GOAT. It also affected his game this season, I believe. He had a lot going on, and you saw it in his play. Do you think this was probably the worst play that we've ever seen with Tom Brady out of his 21 seasons now?
Probably so. I mean, the team, yeah. I mean, like I said, they finished 8-9. I did get a chance to watch them, twice this season, just because they're in the same division with the Saints. And I was there on it. I was in Tampa on that Monday night when they came back. They beat the Saints both times this season, but saw Tom Brady kind of do his thing in the last 2 minutes of the game, came back and won, which is something that he's done so many times in his career. And and that game ended up being pretty much the difference in the Bucks making the playoffs and the Saints not making the playoffs, because the Saints have won that game. May have flipped things around. So he definitely probably dropped. I mean, he's father time eventually catches up with you, and
I don't care how good you.
Yeah, it's catching up with him. But again, I mean, he got this team into the playoffs, and Tom Brady's one of the guys. He just wants that shot. He's in the playoffs, so he's we'll see what happens from there.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So, Rod, we lost a true legend in women's sports early last year. And this person is very special to you because you actually got to interview her and did a story on her. The first and only woman to ever be drafted to the NBA back in 1977 by the New Orleans Jazz. That legend is Lucy Harris. Tell us about your time speaking with her and how big of a loss was this for women's basketball?
Yeah, so I got a chance to talk to her over the telephone. I never met her in person, but that draft was 1977. So I talked to her in 2017. It was getting time for the NBA draft, and I just saying, like, this is like the anniversary of, I guess that would have been the 40-year anniversary of when she got drafted. So I tried to reach out to her, and so I was able to get into contact with her and just kind of talk to her about what she remembered about that draft, and just kind of setting the bar for women's basketball. I mean, she's the one who, before Brittany Griner and Sue Bird and all these other legends that we always talk about, it was her. And obviously, women's basketball wasn't as big at the time because there was no social media, there was no television coverage of games, there wasn't even a league for them to really play in. So, she's definitely the standard of women's basketball, which all great women's players should be measured. And it was a big loss, and a lot of people didn't really know her story until some people didn't know about it until she passed, and others didn't know about it until a few years before she passed. But hopefully her name will be remembered forever. I mean, she's in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame and in Basketball Hall of Fames and all that. And she's just one of those people one of those Mississippians that everybody should always remember, and her name should, we saw NBA players sort of paying tribute to her, wearing shoes with her name on it. I know Steph Curry did it. I can't remember. I think Chris Paul may have done it too.
Was it Meek Mill? Somebody had her shirt on also. It had her picture on their shirt too.
Yeah, there were players like that were doing that. So, people know who she is now who probably didn't know who she was 5-10 years ago.
And that was before she passed when we saw that.
Right.
They were wearing her. So I appreciate them paying homage to her because, like you said, and a lot of people did not know her story. Even when we interviewed Yolanda Moore last year, she didn't really know a lot about her. And, it's kind of sad because she trailblazed for them and they didn't even know who she was. So I'm going to keep trying to ring her name as much as I can on, shows because she needs to be. And guys, check out the documentary that they did on her. I think it's about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It's a really good documentary. It tells a lot about who she is. So yeah. We lost another legend, the GOAT, Bill Russell. Bill passed away July 30th at the age of 88 years old. He received the highest honor when the NBA honored Russell's unparalleled career with the league-wide retirement of his number 6 jersey. He won 11 NBA titles as one as the coach and 5 MVP awards with the Boston Celtics. President Obama also awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. What are your thoughts on this legend and his passing?
Bill Russell. I actually have a picture of Bill Russell on my wall. It's right above this Kobe. This is a framed picture. I got a chance to do it. Let me see if I can scroll down later. He's up there.
Oh, there he is. That's what he was at State, wasn't it?
I included that in the story. I don't know where that picture. I can't remember where that picture.
Okay.
But I was able to. They let me write a column when he died and just kind of his, what he meant to basketball, not just on the court, but off the court. I mean, he was he was outspoken. A lot of times, especially these days, people criticize athletes for speaking out on stuff, but Bill Russell was not afraid to speak out. And so yeah, I never got a chance to actually talk to him in person. I did see him at some All-Star games here in New Orleans. He'd walk in and he just had this presence. You could tell that when he walked in, like everybody's like, that's Bill Russell. Like he's just that kind of guy. I mean, like Michael Jordan is to people our age, or LeBron to the younger generation. Dr. J to that's kind of who Bill Russell was, respected by everybody, and just a guy that leagues, they're doing all they can to make sure that he's not forgotten. You see how the NBA teams now, they have the little 6 on their jerseys, to honor him. So definitely a guy whose impact will be, we talk about Lucia Harris, but his impact is, just as important on the men's in men's basketball in the NBA.
Let me ask you this. Would you consider him the ultimate GOAT, the only GOAT I mean, would you consider him?
I, probably not, but I mean, he does have. I mean, he has all the rings. I mean, there's the iconic photo of him, holding all of his rings. And as far as winning, I mean, nobody did it better than him. Especially, on the defensive end, that's kind of what he was known for. But I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that GOAT thing with the three players, Kareem, Mike, and LeBron, and not in any kind of order. But I mean, I think those three are in that conversation, and you can argue about whoever you want to, and amongst those three.
LeBron. So Kobe is not even in that.
Not in the top three. Not for me.
Well, LeBron is.
I gave you my three.
Whatever. You already know how I feel about that. So moving on, when the Astros won the World Series in 6 games over the Phillies, beloved Dusty Baker, 73-year-old, became the oldest manager head coach to win a title in major American sports. Now, Rod, I don't like baseball, but I was so happy for him. That meant a lot. And because you are a fan of baseball, I'm sure you followed him before all of his career before this. How excited were you for him when this happened?
I was excited for him. The Cincinnati Reds is my baseball team. I followed them since Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Ken Griffey Sr. and all those guys. And so Dusty ended up coaching the Reds, a few years back, and never couldn't get it done. He's one of those guys that everybody likes. Everybody's rooting for him, and it was good to see him finally get it. I'm not really a big Astros fan, but
love Dusty.
Yeah, I mean, you rooted for Dusty, and that's I wanted to see him win, and I didn't really care who won the World Series, but with Dusty being in it, I was like, okay, I do want them to win, and it was good to see him finally. Good guys eventually get rewarded, and he finally got his reward, and it was just good to see that for him.
Do you think, and I don't know, because again, I don't follow baseball. I know I talk sports, but I just don't really follow baseball. Do you think if he hadn't already retired, do you think he'll retire now since he's received the ultimate trophy?
I think it'll be easier for him to do it now. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how old Dusty is. 73. Yeah. So I mean, he's getting up there, and once you get that prize, I think, especially when you've been trying to get it for as long as he has, I think it will be easy for him to step away. But that's the thing about these coaching the athletes, they have this competitive spirit, and they get that little high of winning a championship, and they want to do it again, and that's why they keep coming back. I mean, Drew Brees is the same way. Yeah, it's like a drug for them. Like, and you've been, you chasing championships your whole life, and you just can't get enough of it. So, but I do think he'll, eventually he'll, shut it down.
Yeah, that's cool. So Becky Hammon, Big Shot Becky, or Clutch, became the first WNBA player to win it all as a coach. She was an assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs for 8 seasons and left earlier last year to become the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces. How significant is this title for Coach Hammon?
I think it's big for, she was a lady who a lot of people thought would be the first woman to get a NBA job, because Coach Popovich, she's with the Spurs, he always kind of vouched for her. I know we even had some reporters here in New Orleans when the Pelicans job was open a few years ago, like Becky Hammon was always one of the names that they would throw out. They just thought she'd get one of those jobs. And eventually she ended up, going to WNBA and winning, right away. So it'll be interesting to see if she wants to, come back to the NBA where she, spent so much time under Coach Popovich. And, eventually there's going to be a woman to, to break that barrier and get one of these head coaching jobs in the NBA. And she's definitely one that will probably be in consideration. That's Teresa Weatherspoon, who is an assistant here at the Pelicans in New Orleans. And she's, whenever Zion Williamson talks about his improvement in his game, he always talks about how much she's had an impact on it. So she's another woman that very well could land one of those jobs. But I think it will happen eventually. It's just going to be a matter of which team and which general manager is willing to make that hire, that groundbreaking hire.
What's interesting, you mentioned earlier, you know, how athletes, they're always chasing that ultimate prize. I think she'll probably stay with the Aces for a minute to try to get a dynasty, which would be pretty dope. And then she probably will go into the NBA. I could see that
Yeah,
happening.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. She a bad girl. She a bad girl. So Ryan, one of the craziest stories was Brittany Griner being detained by the Russian government for allegedly having, what was it? It wasn't marijuana, but it was
It was like the cannabis oil or something in her,
cannabis oil.
in
Okay,
something.
in
Yeah.
her luggage as she was headed back to America. She was detained in February of 2022, tried this past summer, and was sentenced to 10 years in prison there in Russia. Thankfully, she was released in the trade for the merchant of death, Victor Bout. Do you think Brittany was used as a political pawn for the merchant of death?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if Brittany Griner was Rod Walker or Sonya Stamp, she probably not, you know, they probably don't do that. But yeah, I
We'll
mean,
still be there.
she was somebody with some name recognition, and they knew they could, you know, get
Mhm.
something out of it. So it was a, you know, she was kind of used as a political pawn there. And you know, fortunately, you know, that situation's over. And because I mean, there were times, I mean, when she got sentenced to whatever 9, 10 years, I mean, I thought, you know,
I
this
thought it was a wrap.
right. I thought I think I thought it was a wrap too. So I'm glad that the negotiations worked out and they were able to, you know, get her free.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Paul Whelan, he's still over there, but they were not going to let him go because he's considered as a spy. So, you know, it was just like, give us Victor, you can have Brittany. So I'm thankful she's back. I'm thankful she's back with her family. I pray that because no telling what happened to her there. So I'm praying that she's getting the mental help that she needs, you know, maybe getting therapy or whatever. But I'm just glad she's back on US soil. Do you think she'll probably go back and play in Russia?
I don't think so. But
I wouldn't want to see Russia on the map.
right. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think that's over with for her. But
Yeah, I hope so. Uh, so Rod, your alma mater and the state of Mississippi suffered a huge loss with the passing of Bulldog head coach Mike Leach. He passed away December 12th at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Mississippi, following complications from a heart condition. He was nicknamed the Pirate while at Texas Tech University, using a pirate sword to show his team and use it as a metaphor to give them advice. When you heard the news, Rod, of his passing, what were your thoughts? Not only as a journalist, but as an alum of Mississippi State.
you know, when it first, I can't remember. He got, you know, we got the news that we got the news that he had been rushed to the hospital, and
Right.
everybody I talked to that had any type of connections, they all said it wasn't looking good.
That's what I was hearing.
So I think at that point I'm, you know, I'm a little prepared for it. And I never met Coach Leach, and didn't really know. I mean, I knew he's this prolific offensive mind, and everywhere he's gone, the team's really good on offensive. But I never really knew him personally. But you know, when he passed away, I got a chance to talk to some people who he had recruited out of New Orleans
Mhm.
who knew him really well. One guy played for him at Washington State. Another guy was on his staff at Mississippi State. I talked to one of the moms whose son he had recruited, and everybody had like really good things to say about him. And just, you know, he was different now. Like he didn't really care what people thought about him. He was just this kind of quirky guy, funny, but really super smart, had a law degree. He was just kind of a different kind of dude. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, and everybody just, whatever topic you brought up, and this is just what I'm hearing from people, it didn't matter what you talked about. Mike Leach knew something about it. He was just like this really brilliant guy that everybody seemed to like. So definitely a loss for the program, I think. I mean, he was a coach that, I don't know if he was going to ever win a national championship, but he was a coach who was good enough offensively that you're probably going to win some games that you shouldn't win. You might lose some games that you shouldn't lose, but you know, he could get you to 9-3 or however many games State won this year. They were 8-4. But he was just he was a solid coach, and you know, a guy that, you know, I think the Mississippi State folks will miss having around.
Yeah. He seemed to be, you know, after seeing the stories about him, you know, I was just like, wow, you know, it kind of made you wish you knew him. He seemed like a pretty cool dude, and gone too soon. 61 is so young, but I wish his family well. Condolences to the family, the Mississippi State Bulldog family. You know, I know a lot of people took that really hard, especially in my job. They were like really upset about that. So I get it. I didn't have a lot of info. I did not even, and I forgot to look up information on him, but I remember stuff on this guy because we were kids when I first saw him. First of all, you didn't see a lot of Black people playing soccer. And Pele, at the age of 82, the GOAT, he passed away, I think the last week of December it was. What were your thoughts when you saw that? Because just like me, you from Mississippi, we never really saw Black kids or anybody Black playing soccer. So that was the first person I ever saw. And I remember we would just watch because it was like, it was a shocker. It was just this one Black guy with all these white people running, kicking a ball. So I had never seen that before, but I remember him. He was a huge, huge deal back in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, what was weird about him, like, I don't remember ever seeing him play. I mean, like, I didn't have cable growing up, so I don't know if I even watched a soccer game at all growing up. But we just knew who he was. Like, it was the weirdest thing. Like,
no social media.
No social media, yeah. No, this is before ESPN when we grew up, you know, ESPN came around in 80, 81. But yeah, but we knew who he was, and
Who he was.
we knew his impact on the sport. We just knew this, you know, this guy with that we just knew by one name, and everybody knew how great he was, which tells you how in a sport that none of us really even, you know, as I got older, I mean, I watched the World Cup and all that, but just what he meant to the game, and yeah, I mean, he's just one of the greatest to do it. And you look at his accolades and, you know, all the things that he did. I mean, it's obvious that he was one of the greatest to ever play the game. But just for him to make that kind of impact without us actually seeing him, watching him in a sport that we don't watch, it just tells you all you know about his success.
It was amazing. It was actually, yeah, you're right. It says a lot about his success. And when I saw that he passed, because I haven't heard his name in decades. So when I saw him pass, it was just like, you know, it was like, oh man, like one of your neighbors. Because like you said, we never really had a lot of, how did we know about this man like we did? It was just amazing. He was truly amazing. Couple more that I forgot to write on my paper, but this guy's pretty special to you because you're Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and your quarterback, Big Ben, he retired last year. I forgot about him in my retirement stories. We talked about this last year. We knew it was time. He's had some injuries, and it was just time. So what were your thoughts when you finally heard him say the words, and what went through your mind when he retired?
I remember watching that last game, and I was a little, like, he's probably one of my favorite Steelers of all time. I thought he was just so tough and always just battling, and just the way he played, I just liked him. And so I remember when he retired, and I remember they showed him and his family walking to the locker room one last time, and I remember being a little sad about it. I mean, I wasn't when Dr. J retired, that's the saddest I've ever been.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I cried when Dr. J retired.
Oh,
like,
Michael
literally.
Jordan, I booed both times.
I boohooed when Dr. J retired. So this one didn't. I mean, Ben, it wasn't. I mean, I'm older now, and it doesn't mean as much as. But I was a little. No, what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. I'm just kidding.
I was a little. You know, I was a little sad that he was gone. You know, he wasn't gonna play anymore. But you know, he had a great career. He'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and so it was kind of just, you know, good to having got a chance to watch him play. I actually got a chance. The Saints played in Pittsburgh this year. My first time actually going to that stadium, and did get a chance to see him. He was yeah, he was at the game, and yeah, I mean, just being in that stadium where, you know, finally seeing the stadium of the team that I root for was, you know, I usually don't get too excited about just going to stadiums. I mean, I go to stadiums all the time, but that one did have a little bit more meaning to me, just having done that. And I don't know if we had him on the list, and I don't even know if he died. Did Franco Harris die last year or this year?
I think last year.
I think it was last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be last year because the anniversary. Yeah, yeah. So it was like, yeah. So I mean, another Steeler great that, that's gone. And I remember when we got to Pittsburgh for this game, they have a little statue in the airport of him making the catch against the Raiders, the immaculate reception. And I took a picture like right beside it with the same pose. And he's a guy that like nobody. I mean, he was doing pretty well, and all of a sudden just left us. So just 2022, just another reminder that
Yeah.
none of the people that were your heroes growing up, they're not going to be here forever. Well, none of us are going to be here forever.
That is true. This story was bizarre because I think the world was just shocked, especially men all over the world. When Coach Udoka cheated on Nia Long, had an affair with the Celtics, Boston Celtics, one of the higher up, he was what, VP? His wife. I don't even remember her name because they really kept her out of it. But he's been suspended. Pretty much, he's done. But what were your thoughts? Because I remember seeing all the posts from men, you cheated on Nia, so what were your thoughts? Well, except Fred's movie. He was like, she played the same person in every movie and he know why he cheated on her. I was like, you stupid. So what were your thoughts when you heard the story, or the alleged affair with the Boston Celtics wife and Coach Udoka?
My initial thoughts was I just hated it for him because he had just led Boston to the NBA Finals in his first season, and he was like this, up and coming guy who's, with a really good team this year that, they got a chance to win it all. They didn't get it done last year, but I mean they were really good. They probably gotten better, and so initially I just kind of felt bad that he kind of threw all that away. As far as the Nia Long thing, like I'm probably not as big on that as everybody else. I don't think how good you look determines if somebody's going.
It does not.
Yeah, I mean,
Ask Beyonce, Dorothy Dandridge, Marilyn Monroe. The list goes on and on.
Yeah. I mean, and a guy like him and a woman like her, I mean, they can pretty much
be with
anybody they want. So just because, so I didn't really get into all that. I can't believe he cheated on Nia Long thing. I mean, I just think that's a part of relationships especially when they go sour or whatever. And I don't know enough about. I can't tell you why he did it or anything, but I just do know that he probably has options that and I'm not justifying what he did, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think just because he's dating Nia Long that she's exempt from being cheated on.
You know what? And I agree with that. However, my problem I think I have with it the most is, you disrespected the relationship by cheating, but you even you disrespected her more because you had this woman, like the lady pretended she was a friend, booking her flights, helping her find a house. He could have been in the bed with her some of them times and Nia was talking to her. And that's what bothers me the most. Because you're right. I don't care how pretty you are, you can get cheated on by anybody. If it's in their character, they're gonna do it. I don't care how gorgeous you are, how great of a woman you are. And they had been together 12 years, been engaged. They got engaged a couple of years ago. I don't think he was gonna ever marry her. If you engage that come on, no. I really, we don't.
And again, I don't know what kind of arrangements they had. Like, I don't know that they may have agreed. Like, we're not gonna. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know, but
I know he was wrong for that bull crap, and that's the problem I have. I would have got him, but I would have tried to get to her too, just because you play like you was like my friend. That's the problem I have. So
I agree. I mean, that's a different level of disrespect. And,
oh my God, that has happened to me before. So that's why that triggers me. Yeah. But I'm like you. I hated that he messed up his career. I'm like, bro, do you understand? He was about to take this to the next level.
Right.
And it's just I don't know, whatever. But I wish them well. She finally, from my understanding, last month split from him. So good for her. She deserves better. And, hopefully he gets himself together and be true. Let's move on.
If Nia's watching, I'm here.
Nia, that's my brother. He's a great guy. Now, he don't get excited about a lot of stuff, but he's I'm talking about take you to some great restaurants, and he loves sports. So, and he may answer your text and calls.
He will, trust me.
You thanks, Dan. Okay, I think that's enough. And one more. Coach Prime spent 3 great seasons with JSU, where we were victorious 2 seasons with back-to-back championships, but came up short both times in the Celebration Bowl. Well, 2 weeks before the Celebration Bowl, Coach Prime announced that he had taken a head coaching position with the Colorado Buffaloes. Do you feel his announcement before the bowl was a distraction?
I don't know if it was a distraction. Well, yeah, it was a distraction because that's all people were talking about. Everybody was distracted. It actually,
I mean, more so for the team.
For the team, okay. I was thinking personally because I know the news came out on December 4th. He just kind of ruined out the Alphas Founders Day because nobody even talked about us. They all talked about it.
You know what? I think I put a post that I did. But yeah, you're right. Baby, I was low cotton that day. I went to the grocery store, my hair wasn't combed. I had on some big sunglasses. I just was like, I don't care. I was, I've known a little bit since October that he was leaving, but the way it was done and announced, I think it took everybody just like, whoa, everybody was shocked. But
so yeah, I think it was probably the distraction. It had to be. I mean, this is a guy that he was like one of the biggest topics of college football this past season. So
yes, sir.
To hear that right when you're preparing for that was before the Celebration Bowl or before the SWAC championship? No, for the SWAC championship, right?
He announced it the day we won the SWAC championship, and it was 2 weeks before the Celebration Bowl.
Okay. Well, yeah. So it was definitely I think it was a distraction. I understand both sides of it. I understand why some Jackson State people are upset. I understand why I never fault anybody for pursuing whatever they want to pursue.
Absolutely.
You got to respect that.
That's his life. Yeah.
Right. So, so I understand that side, but I also understand like Jackson State fans who were disappointed because they felt like he was sort of preached this one message about what HBCUs, what you can do there. Hey, players come to HBCU, we can get it done here. And then he leaves for a PWI. I mean, I can understand like why that would be hurtful to some people. And I think if Deion had gone to the NFL, I don't think people would be upset. They'd be like, okay, I understand that. But the fact that he went to one of the schools that he's kind of, so I understand like why people were bitter about it. But again, you got to respect anybody trying to do what they consider better for themselves.
Well, first of all, he was not here to stay forever, number one. And some people saying God sent you. God did send him. I truly believe that. What other school do you know was on 60 Minutes in Times Square and on Good Morning America in 1 week? Jackson State was. Jackson State has always been known, but the notoriety that we've received now, just like his name was in somebody's mouth every day for the last 3 seasons, it was connected to Jackson State. So it was a win-win situation for both of us. Right. Before he came to Jackson State, his Instagram followers were like 400. I know because I followed him. I've been a fan. It's 1.something million now. And that's because everybody is like, what's going on with this guy? So we helped him too.
Right. That's both sides. It was a partnership and they both helped each other.
Absolutely. And his goal has always been to get to a Power 5.
Right.
I thought he would at least have stayed 4 years, but I know it was stuff that was going on behind the scene and nobody want to deal with that. However, I think he'll always be, his kids really didn't want to go. They love being here. he loved being here to the point where it's so much of Jackson in Colorado right now. Somebody called it North Jackson State University. He had one of his favorite restaurants is Johnny T's, and he had the owner and the chef to come and cater for the recruits up there. And that's because he's been having, you know, he goes to restaurants and he rates them, and he be like, I'm gonna give you an A, but you need to give me a little more seasoning, you know. So he missing that soul food cooking that he was getting every day, and it's gonna probably take a minute. He had the young lady who decorated for him in Jackson. She decorated his office there. So he still is connected to us. And I'm like, he missed us just as much as we miss him. But Charles Bishop gave, I never knew this, Coach Merritt back in the 70s, who also was kind of flamboyant like Prime. I didn't realize those are the only two coaches at Jackson State that has ever quit. Everybody else has either been fired or retired. And that's why everybody's so angry, because you quit me.
Right.
Like a girlfriend. What you gave me all, you promised me all of this, and then you're gonna leave me like that. And that's why everybody is so upset. I did not know that. And I was like, what a history lesson. That makes sense.
I didn't realize that either.
And he went to Tennessee. And that's why the big rival between Tennessee and Jackson State, that's where that come from. I didn't know. So that was some great information, and it explained to me. I said, now I understand, because but they're the only two coaches that had ever just left, they quit.
Okay. It's still gonna take a little time for Jackson State fans to, you know, to get past, well, some of them.
Let it go.
Yeah. I mean,
you got, my friend called yesterday, was like, because she was the one who I knew about it, but she was like, why he got Johnny T's up there? I said, but why you still talk? You got to let it go, sis. This is good opportunities for these people. It's not just about football. It's bigger than football. He has relationships, and he's helping people. I mean, now don't get it. Johnny T's is one of my favorite restaurants, and now my meal is probably going to be $50 because of this. And the Rick James is going to probably be $3,000. But you know, hey, I may still support, because I love the chef's cooking. It's amazing. And let me ask you this. In your opinion, Rod, what was the prime effect on HBCU football culture? And is it sustainable without him directly within the culture anymore?
What's the first part of the question? What was the what? I can't remember.
What was the prime effect on HBCU culture? And is it sustainable without him directly being within the culture?
I think the effect is just the spotlight that he put on it. I mean, obviously, you and I, we know the history of HBCU football and all the greats that have come through there, but he was able to shine that light on the culture again. And I think the key for it is going to be for the fans to continue what they did. I mean, Jackson State fans traveled more than they had ever traveled before. I mean, they were going all over the country to watch it. Not all of them. I mean, I know people who weren't traveling as much.
Now.
Huh?
We travel.
No, I know they travel, but I know people who.
I know what you mean. Some people who really, they got more involved.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. And I think you just got to keep that up, because I remember when the news came out, I know people saying like, yeah, I might not even go to the Celebration Bowl now. I was like, it's not really about just Deion. It's about those players on the team, and you need to go support them, just like, you know, and you got to keep that going. Like, you can't just stop just because Deion's not there. And
right.
If Jackson State can do that, I mean, they've always had, you know, been one of the leaders or the leader in attendance. They got to keep that going. And so I think that's going to be the main thing.
But it also is on the administration as well as really the coaches too, because they have to follow the blueprint that he left. If you go back to doing things before Prime, we're going to have some problems. You got to keep the momentum going. And so it's going to be up to the coaches. It's going to be even the administrators, because they have to continue with this trend. It's you can't. I mean, we're in a social media world.
Yeah, and I think he has the right people in place, because I think TC Taylor and Otis really. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think those guys understand it. They understand it. I mean, recruiting is the bloodline of college football anyway.
Right.
And I mean, as long as they can bring good players in, you'll continue to win. I mean, that's basically what it all boils down to. And I think he does have. I think Deion left. Well, no, he didn't leave, but I mean, let me credit Ashley Robinson. I think he hired some people and got the people in place that can keep things going.
Absolutely. And one more thing about Coach Prime. In Coach Prime form, he played baseball, football at the same time, and he was the head coach of 2 football teams at the same time.
Right.
How dope is that? I mean, I said, that's my guy. I mean, he gonna keep it prime all the time. So I wish him well. I want him to do well as the team. Just send Johnny T back, sir. Thank you.
I think he will do well. I think again, recruiting is like so important. He's just so good at it. And you know, when Coach Prime goes into a living room and sits down with a kid and the kid's mom, like he's a guy that every parent, I say mom and dad, parents would pretty much trust their kids with him. And I think that's why he's gonna recruit well. Like and you recruit well, you're gonna win.
That's true. That is true. Well, Rod, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule this season. I know you're so busy, but no, for real. But thanks. Tell the list. Oh no! Before we do that, you can give it this, you can give it that, real quick. So you know how that is. You know, that'll play.
I'm used to just listening to a guest. I don't know if
I know. So you enjoy doing that.
Right.
You don't like the pressure on you. Well, you know how it is. This is the way we can get to the listeners and the guests, the listeners and myself, to get to know the guests better. I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the one that best fits you. Okay? Passion or money?
Passion, for sure.
Because you can get the money if you follow that passion.
Right.
Would you prefer to live in 1969 or 2069?
2069.
Why?
I mean, 1969 was especially for us. I mean, it was a tough time for Black people particularly, and I just think we still got a long way to go, but I just feel like still tough, yeah. But I just think, I want to see what's out there in 2069.
Yeah. It'll probably be a totally different world because I read in 17, by 2025, the world will be 50% biracial. So it would be, a lot of the racists will be, they'll be dead and, and not being funny, but I mean, we all gotta go. So it'll probably be a different place than what we see now.
Yeah.
A store where every item is free or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free?
A store where everything
is free.
Yes.
I want the restaurant where every calorie is free.
I do that. I handle myself. I work out, I do what I gotta do, but I get some free stuff.
Right.
Get my free exercise equipment and work off those calories.
Exactly. Be the one that everyone calls in an emergency, or be the one everyone goes to for a laugh?
Probably the one that people go to for a laugh. I always kind of feel like I'm already the one.
You don't even talk, Harley.
Yes, I do.
But you know what? That's true. And I've been knowing Rob for years. He is very funny. I'm just being funny. I'm just messing around with him. But okay, I can see that. I would rather be the one to make you laugh. I'm down with helping in an emergency, but I like to make people laugh. I really do. So, okay. Batman or Superman?
Oh, Batman for sure.
Why? Tell me why.
Batman's always been my favorite out of all the superheroes. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just kind of Batman. He's just kind of a person that gets it done without any. He can't fly. He can't do all this other stuff. So yeah, Batman for sure.
And you know people with the hits and then be like poink. Okay.
So it's like all the Batman movies I've watched. I'm a big fan of the Joker. I dressed up for the Joker as Halloween. I don't know if you saw it.
Sure did.
You said, yeah. So yeah, Batman's my guy now.
Well, Batman was a player. Batman had the Batmobile. He had the dope house.
House, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, what was his name in the daytime? Bruce.
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. You
Wayne.
know, he was kind of cool. You know, so I can see that. Okay, cool.
That was an easy one for me.
I see you went Batman real quick. Steak and potatoes or chicken and rice?
I'd probably say chicken and rice now, but because I'm trying not to eat red meat as much. But if you had asked me that question 3 years ago, I'd have said steak and potatoes for sure. Like that was like always one of my favorite meals. But yeah.
How would you get your steak cooked if you were eating it?
Medium or medium well.
I prefer medium well. I learned when I moved to Texas because most Black people, especially here,
Grew up on well done.
were well done, and it was tough. And I was like, I don't like them. So when I moved to Dallas, I had been there maybe 3 years, and our company took us out to eat the Saltgrass, which is one of my favorite steakhouses. Oh my gosh! And the girl was like, I said, I got chicken. She was like, how you coming to a steakhouse? I was like, I don't like steak. She said, let me teach you how to eat a steak. And she told me to get it medium well. She was like, it's not pink, it's light brown. That was the best steak. I ate a steak every day for like 3 weeks because it was just like, it was not every day, once a week, I'm sorry. It was so freaking good. So
It's like a whole different steak.
flavor is totally different.
I introduced my brother to it. We went on a cruise this summer, and he was always like a well done guy. I was like, look, oh man, you gotta try this.
Oh my God.
He'll probably never eat another well done steak for the rest of his life.
Ever. If I'm throwing it back to the restaurant because I'm like, that's crazy. It is so, I still remember when my dad would cook them and it was tough, and I was like, I don't want no more. And you would have to get a lot of A1 sauce, and
Yeah, just to,
if it's cooked right, you don't need no
You ain't got
sauce.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you prefer a road trip or direct flight?
Direct flight.
Direct flight. You getting too old to be doing those road trips?
Yeah. my bladder ain't what it used to be. I can't be pulling over every 2 hours.
You know what? And I mean, I try to beat my time. I still like Dallas. My cousin used to call it the west suburb of Jackson before I moved to Dallas because I was there all the time. I was dating this guy, and she was like, no. So I drive there. Driving there, I feel weird flying there because I'm like, oh no, I can 5.5 hours. I'm there. I don't have a problem driving there, Atlanta. The most hours I do is 8 hours, but that's it for me. I can't do more than 8 in a day. But I prefer direct flights too, but I'm still a road trip girl. I love road trips. This is cute. I laughed when I wrote it down. You like to be called the first thing in the morning or call in the middle of the night?
I'm not a morning person, so I'm gonna say in the middle of the night.
You say that other part before?
I'm not a morning person in a way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So,
I know.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm
why
just,
I laughed when I wrote it down.
yeah, I definitely say middle of the night.
Okay. One of your favorite actors, who's your favorite rather, Danny Glover or Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman.
What's your favorite movie with him?
Shawshank Redemption.
Guess who else chose when I gave him this answer, Shawshank Redemption? John Grant with ESPN.
Oh, really? Okay.
He said, why Shawshank Redemption? Why that one?
That's just one of
your favorites?
probably one of my top 5 movies, probably. It's
Really?
up there pretty high. Yeah, I like Shawshank.
Okay. Wow, interesting. Last but not least, eat dinner with someone famous from the past or the present, and who would it be?
It'd be somebody from the past. Probably Muhammad Ali, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah.
Why him?
I mean, just because of everything that he stood for, and he not only, probably considered by many the greatest athlete of all time, but just the stuff he did out of the ring, and just so respected by everybody. And yeah, he would be the guy.
I love it.
Sure.
Cool. Well, she would be one for sure.
We're still trying to get her, right?
Yes. You got the the juice, bro. What's up?
I'm trying to remember, did she even respond back? Because I thought one time, no, I think she ended up following me back finally on Instagram.
Hmm.
So,
Let's work on that.
okay.
Let's work on that. Rod, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media.
On Twitter, I'm at Rod Walker Nola. And Instagram is rwalker1906.
Okay.
Facebook is Rod Walker. So,
Rod Walker. And guys, you can follow me on Facebook at She Say Sports. On Instagram, She Say Sports 23. On Twitter at She Say She 23. And please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.